So what's the deal? What did he ask you that you answered yes? About the incest.
Yeah, he asked me if it would be okay for a brother and a woman to have sex. A brother and a sister.
And a sister,
if they
okay.
use contraception.
Okay. And you think it's okay?
No, I said that's not about me.
Consent over everything!
That's the point. It's not about me.
Yes,
it's
it is about
them.
you.
No, why? No.
Yes, it is.
What do I have
Because
to
we
do
live in a
that?
society, and thus we need to choose certain norms to obey.
Okay.
We need
So
to
you think
listen.
so?
In a society, when we have, I think morality is subjective.
Yeah, sure.
But in a society, we need to choose at least similar moral rules, a similar moral code. Because if we choose different moral rules, one person can go ahead and rape someone, and he can get away with it because we'll just, it's his
But
opinion.
that's what harming other people. So that's,
Oh, so it's only bad when it's directly harming another person.
yeah, well,
No.
No, so
Okay,
okay.
wait. Let us think about it. You know, you're having a lot of opinions.
Take your time.
Yes, thank you so much. So you're talking about cunt, basically.
Sorry, could you speak louder?
You're talking about cunt, basically. Everyone should have about
I still
the
can't
same
hear you, sorry.
cunt. You know cunt.
Who?
Cunt.
Kant, the philosopher.
Yes.
Okay.
So you're having his opinion, basically, that everyone should have a very similar state.
More or less, more or less.
Okay.
I don't quite follow Kant all that religiously, but I do follow some things he said.
Okay. So, okay, speaking about religion, we talked about religion earlier. Every religion...
About? Religion.
Religion. Yes. Maybe you should put your head from your ears. Maybe you can...
Yeah, but it's a bit cold here. You know, I don't have a lot of hair at this point. Kind of had to shave up. The revelation.
What is this for, even?
Huh?
What is this for?
Oh, this is just one of the channels that comes to Speaker's Corner. They film some discussions here and all that stuff. But don't worry, this is one of the more impartial channels. They just put whatever people say. They don't cut out certain parts. So if I mess up in the conversation, if I make a mistake and you prove me wrong, they will not cut it out. So that's how it is. But yeah, don't worry. It's just a normal channel. They will not start talking trash about the people, even if they lose an argument. But let's come back to the incest because we're kind of running away from it a little bit.
Yeah,
So,
for good
do you
reason.
think
We
it's
talked about transgender people.
transgender people? Okay, we can go to transgender people.
Because incest is not...
What do you think about transgender people?
I think they can do whatever they want if they're happy. And they can do whatever they want if they're happy.
If they're happy.
Yes.
So you think anybody can do whatever they want if they're happy with it, as long as it doesn't directly hurt other people?
I think so.
You think so?
Yes. Do you have an
Okay.
example?
I have many examples.
Okay, which one maybe...
I have many
okay,
examples.
Go ahead.
All right, if I tell you that I am Donald Trump,
I know you're not.
how do you know that?
I mean, that's just ridiculous.
You're assuming that I'm not Donald Trump.
This is a ridiculous comparison.
Why is it ridiculous?
You're making it ridiculous. Please,
Why am I
we want
making
to
it
have
ridiculous?
A proper conversation. If you're making ridiculous comparisons, that is not a proper conversation we're having. You're just trying to prove me wrong with bad examples. That is not discussing. That is just being ridiculous. We're talking about transgender people. We're not talking about you pretending to be Donald Trump. That is not reasonable.
Okay, so you think that me pretending to be a woman is more reasonable than me pretending to be Donald
Donald
Trump?
Trump is one specific person. Agenda is something else. Have you ever heard of Behaviour?
Okay,
Beauvoir,
sorry?
Beauvoir.
Who?
Beauvoir, Simone de Beauvoir.
Okay. So what does it have to do with this?
She
She.
distinguishes between...
Wait, is it actually a woman or a man, or they just identify as a woman?
She identifies as a woman, as far as I
Oh,
know.
so it's a man, but he identifies as a woman.
Please, let me have this. Okay, she distinguishes between the sex, which is the biological, I think, I'm not 100% sure right now. No, between gender. Gender is being what society makes of your gender. So, identifying as something or being something. And sex is biological, what you're born with. And if sex and gender, as of her definition, don't match up, then you kind of identify as transgender.
Okay.
Yeah. So, if you're identifying as a woman and you're born with a penis, if you're born as a man, why should it matter? Why shouldn't you change it? Why shouldn't you
Okay,
be
if
able
I
to?
identify, let's say, as a black man, should people accept me as a black man?
Why would you identify as a black man.
Why
This
would
is
you
not-
identify as a woman?
This is not about the color of your skin. This is about gender. Why are you trying to make awful comparisons?
All right, it's not an awful comparison at all.
It is.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Being a black man and being white is just a little bit different because of some cosmetic changes.
Yes.
You know, it's,
Then just
there are a
change
few
the
changes.
colour
It's
of
not
your
much.
skin.
Yes.
Yes.
The shape of my face will change. The color of my skin will change, and depending on the region of Africa, the shape of my body might change because different subraces of blacks, just as different subraces of whites, have different body structures. Do you agree with that?
Have you? Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so why is that? Why is it silly to compare my identification with a different race, to compare my identification with a different gender? Why is it so silly? You know, a woman, you,
Yes.
for example, are similar to me. You have the same hair color, I assume. Are you actually blonde or are you just?
I identified as a blonde woman. So
Oh, you identify as a blonde woman. Fair enough. Okay, so you're a woman, and that's it. Other than that, we basically don't have a lot of
both
different
humans.
distinctions. Yes. So why is it so silly for me to identify as a black man?
I changed my opinion. Okay, if you identify as a black man, then go for
So
it.
it's fine. It's fine for me to identify as black.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So imagine Josh here. There's a guy standing here. His name is Josh. He is ugly. He has a really ugly face, but he identifies as beautiful. You know, he has this misplaced sense of self-worth.
Beauty is always in the eye of the beholder. So
Good one. But listen,
also a bad comparison. Come on, give me
Is it?
something. Give me something good.
why is it a bad comparison?
Because we're talking about gender right now.
Okay, just because you call it a bad comparison doesn't mean it is a bad comparison. If you call it a bad comparison, give me a reason for it being a bad comparison.
Because we're talking about directly about gender.
Yes, we're talking about
Let us
change
please
in the
talk
human
about-
body,
yeah, let
about
us please talk
genetic
about the
changes,
actual
about body
subject.
changes, you know, genes, right? And a person who is ugly is slightly different from a person who is beautiful. You know what I mean? If he identifies as beautiful for some reason, will you just accept him as beautiful because he identifies as
Talking
so?
about being ugly or being beautiful is really
Yes, it is subjective. It is subjective. But I'm going to a certain question that I'm going to lead you to. And depending on how
Okay,
you answer
please
that
then
question.
give me the
Okay,
question.
let's imagine John here, another guy. He's really bad at math.
so long.
He's really bad at math. He's really bad at math. And he
Okay.
wants to be a math teacher.
Yeah.
You think he should be a math teacher?
If
Just because he
can
thinks he
work
can.
towards it, yes, everyone can
Yeah,
learn math.
but listen,
Math is
I'm
about
not saying
logic.
if he works for it or not. I'm saying he's just really, really bad at it.
Okay. How bad? Cool.
Like he keeps, you ask him how much is 1 + 1, and he tells you 10.
Okay, then he can learn 1 + 1 is 2. Being smart or learning new stuff is not the same as changing your gender. You can't make the comparison. I
Why
learned
can't
playing
I?
the piano, and before I was super bad. I couldn't play a C major scale, and now I can. I can play
You know,
even
I couldn't
more.
agree more. And that's the answer that I wanted to hear actually. Because changing your intelligence is way easier than changing your sex. And if you don't want to accept a person who's bad at math as good at math unless they change their ability in math, why would you accept a man who changes his sex to a woman?
You can't compare learning
Oh,
a
you can't
skill.
compare.
No,
Well,
you
why
can't.
can't I compare them?
Because learning a skill is different from changing your gender.
Why so?
Okay, every human has to learn stuff. They're born as knowing, like they know nothing. Human is born knowing nothing. And they have to learn
More or less.
everything.
It's not exactly that
They're
way.
born knowing nothing.
No,
Almost nothing.
exactly.
Okay, good.
Does a human know how to breathe
Yeah,
when he
okay.
is born?
Come on, it's about,
See, it's not
about
nothing.
skill. It's about
No, but okay, if you
knowledge.
say nothing, you need to mean nothing. If you say
We're
nothing
talking
and you
about
don't
skill.
mean
Okay,
nothing.
okay, good.
About skills like maths.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Humans born with almost no skill, whatever.
Yeah.
So they can learn it. They have to adapt. Otherwise, they're not functional human for the society. If they can't talk, then they're either disabled or they can't communicate. So that you can't compare like learning stuff to changing your gender. I don't think that's a good comparison again. What is the point you're trying to make? Honestly.
The point I'm trying to make is just because a person thinks he's something doesn't mean he actually is that something. And it doesn't mean everybody else should accept him as that something. That is the point that I'm going to make here.
Okay, good. Finally, you have a point to make. Good.
Well, okay. Why do you disagree with that point?
Can you give it to me again?
Okay, let me give you the point again. Just because a person thinks he's something and he wants everybody to accept him as such, doesn't mean everybody should accept him as such.
Why?
Why?
Yes.
Well, because it's not beneficial to the society.
What to you is beneficial to society?
Okay, now we're talking. What is beneficial to society is what is functional, is what makes society better, what makes humans coexist in a society, in a group. That's how humans evolved, with sharing knowledge, with supporting each other. You know, one person might be real good at fighting, and another person is real good at building stuff.
Yes.
So in an ancient society, for example, the builder would build houses while the fighter would, scare off the wild animals or scare off other tribes or whatever. You know what I mean? Division, yeah, division of
I know what you mean.
the word just jumped out of my head. Division of functions, yeah. Nowadays, it's not. What's up, bro? Nowadays, it's not that.
I can't recognise you without your leather jacket.
Oh yeah, it's just here, man. It's just here.
Do you know him? This guy is possibly one of the greatest thinkers of our lives.
You sweet
that's
talker,
right.
you
No,
sweet talker.
I'm talking bullshit, but this guy actually thinks. Everything that comes out of his mouth.
It's his opinion, yeah.
No, anything that comes out of anyone's mouth is an opinion.
This man is way too gentle. He's too gentle.
But this guy actually,
He's too kind.
he thinks. He's
Yeah.
rationalised stuff.
Yeah, in his world.
Yeah, who gives a shit? All we can do is say what we think from our world.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you're having a discussion, you can't be just in your. I'm trying to understand him, he doesn't try to understand me.
Okay, but if someone is talking and then there's not, if there's like, okay,
Yeah, he has comparisons, I realize.
if you talk and all you're doing is vocalizing thought vomit, right? Right? We all have thought vomit. Like, close your eyes for 5 seconds and shit pops into your head.
Yeah.
If you're just vocalizing that, then that's nonsense, right?
Yeah.
But if you've got a break between that where you're like, I'm going to stop the thought vomit and I want what I say to mean something, to be rational, this guy does it. And I've seen him a million times and I wish he'd speak more here. I really do wish that.
I'll try my best.
No, I really do wish that. 'Cause we're not all long on this planet. And,
Indeed.
And what we are going to do on this planet is going to be. But he's important. But he hasn't got his leather jacket on, so I didn't recognise him. If I've interrupted your conversations, I do apologise.
No, it's all right. It's all right.
I'm uncouth. Yeah.
Okay, let's
I'm
just
uncouth.
remember what we were talking about. We were talking about functionality in a society. What functions in a society, what doesn't,
Yeah.
right? I think that's the way to go. That's the way that humans should evolve, that humans should adapt. Sorry, bro. Let just so they can see. See you, man.
No, I'm going to hang out.
Oh, you're gonna stay here. Come here.
I'm
Come here.
interested.
All right. And I think that just trusting a person because of a whim is not functional. I don't think it's functional at all. Why do you think that trusting a person just because they have a whim to be something they're not is functional? Now, I'm telling this before you answer. I'm telling this in a perspective of a person who actually does know a number of transgenders. And I call them by the name that they choose to be called.
Okay. So
I don't actually keep calling, a transgender, a man who transitioned to a woman. I don't keep calling him a man, and I don't keep calling a woman who transitioned to a man a woman. I don't do
you have
that.
the feeling that is intrusive to our society? To just
Intrusive? What do you mean by that?
You said you don't agree with the concept of transgender.
No, I didn't say that. I don't. It's not that I don't
So
agree
then
with the
what is
concept
your
of transgender.
problem?
I don't agree with normalizing it and encouraging
Okay.
it in people. I think that first of all, there should be
Okay. Do you
people
feel
should
this-
come to a considerable age
Yes, yeah, okay. I
to
get what
even
you mean.
think about that.
But
And having kids who want to transition and who want to be drag queens and who want to be this and want to be that, and every day they change genders, that's not functional.
Is that really happening, or are you just
It is happening.
exaggerating?
I personally think-
I have.
Yeah.
I'm talking. Have you ever seen a child who said, hey, I want to be a man, I want to be a woman, and change their opinion every day? Have you ever come across that?
No, I haven't personally
Yeah.
come
I have.
across
Okay.
a person like that. But just because you don't have personal experience with something doesn't mean that it doesn't exist.
Yeah, okay. But
I
have
never
you
had
ever
personal
heard of
ex-
that?
Sorry?
Have you ever heard of that? Because I haven't.
Well, of course I have. It's everywhere. The man who was
Everywhere?
talking, yes.
Okay.
I mean, it's not everywhere,
Because
but
I
it's
haven't
very
done it,
visible.
She hasn't done it.
Really?
None of
Not-
my friends
not-
have
not
done
at
it.
all.
Alright.
Not
If you
at all.
haven't, girl, sorry, but if you haven't seen it and you defend the current idea of transgenderism, I don't know why you're defending it at all. I mean, you
No,
didn't research it, you don't know about it.
No, it's not
Why are you
about
defending
the
it?
concept of transgender. It's about people who are you're claiming that these people exist. They are changing their minds every day. I don't think that's happening.
You don't think that's happening?
No, number one. Number two, how does it affect society?
All right, so if it is happening, you
can I
think it
just make
doesn't
one
affect
point?
society?
Why are people speaking for other people that they don't represent, right? Because when you say
I care about other people.
no,
I care about
no.
society.
Because when you say
No, that's a good point.
Right,
She should
right.
care about other
Right,
people,
no.
even
but
if she doesn't represent
people
them.
are taking points of view
Yeah.
that are not necessarily. It's like a second-hand point of view. When you say,
Yeah.
"Does this happen?" Right? I come from the London Courier community, right?
Okay.
And London Couriers are a diverse bunch, right? So we've had in the last 10 years, girls who've become boys and boys who've become girls, right?
Okay.
And amongst the courier community, no one fucking gives a shit,
Yeah.
right? Because do you know why? They're still a person, right? I in my life cannot treat someone different than them being an individual, right?
Yeah.
Right? Whoever you are, you're an individual. Everyone here is an individual, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what philosopher who said there's like I think therefore I am, right?
Descartes.
Descartes, right? I think therefore I am. So what I do from that is like that's the baseline of life.
Okay.
All right.
So
you're an
I think therefore I am. So I do everyone. What would you say? I treat everyone as if they think therefore they are.
Okay, that's good.
They are.
Yeah. So whatever fucking crazy shit is going on in their head, it's like you think therefore you are.
Yeah.
Right?
That's good.
So like if we then get to a point where you extrapolate it to a bigger society, then we have problems. But when you're talking
No,
about
wait, but Descartes' quote,
no,
I
no,
think,
no.
therefore
He's
I
trying to
am,
make a point.
doesn't mean exactly what you're saying.
then we
It
get-
means that I exist.
yeah, I
It
know what
doesn't
you're
mean
saying.
I am what I
No,
think.
no,
Yes,
no.
yes, yes,
No,
yes,
no,
yes.
'cause-
If you think that's not it, you didn't study Descartes. Sorry.
No. I can go back to
I
this.
think, therefore I am
No.
is a question of existence,
Yeah.
not a question of
it's a
identity.
question of
No.
I.
No.
Breaks on.
It's a question of existence.
Yeah.
I think,
To
therefore I
distinguish
am.
between the I and the me. What is
No,
the
okay.
Who
Yeah.
told you that?
I can argue this point forever. Basically, he was trying to find axioms that are true. He was trying to find an axiom that that is true.
He was trying to find proof
axiom-
of his existence.
Yeah, an axiom that is true.
Yes, he
Yeah.
was trying to find one
Every-
reality that he could follow.
All philosophers are trying to find an axiom that is absolutely true, and they can build on beyond that, right?
Okay.
Like you can think whatever the fuck. Everyone can think whatever the fuck they want to think.
Yeah, okay.
But where do you? What are the things that you can go? This is the bricks and mortar that I can build something on.
I'm not sure what you mean at this point, honestly.
Right.
Okay.
Right. The most difficult thing, if you're going to really think about philosophy, what do you know is
You're
true?
leaving.
We're leaving.
Well, the conversation kind of derailed a bit, so I don't blame you.
Sorry if I interrupted it. But
That's fine.
what?
But anyway, listen. Honestly, Descartes' quote, "I think, therefore I am," doesn't mean that he is what he thinks he is.
Yeah.
Nothing
He is-
like that.
He is talking about existence, but he's also
Yes.
and he's talking about
An axiom that you
to
can build.
distinguish between the I and the me, the person that is inside you and the
Yeah.
person you are showing.
The person inside you and
Like,
sorry,
to
seriously,
distinguish.
speak a little bit louder. I can't hear you. I'm not joking.
Yeah.
There's a lot of shouting here.
Yeah, I know, but I
think
read
there's
it in
something else
German, so I
going
don't know
on,
how to translate it properly. But it's
Okay.
basically about the thoughts
See you,
you
bro.
have and the thoughts you have and how you're acting, what kind of thoughts you allow to have an impact on your actions. I don't know how to translate it any better. It is about existence, but also about brain and psyche. I don't know. Sorry.
What's the difference between existence and what you just said?
Sorry,
What's the big difference?
I
I
really
don't-
can't say it in English. I'm very sorry.
Okay, fine.
And
fair
we're
enough.
going to go on now because we didn't want it to derail so much. We just wanted to listen to the discussions. We didn't. Really
Okay,
want
okay.
it to
Sorry
go
for
on.
dragging you into this.
No, it's
Just
alright.
go around,
It was very
see whatever
interesting.
discussions you want. Thank you for talking.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Come here, man. Come here. Let's talk.
Right, no, the issue is, it's like the axiom that you have to, if you're going to think about this shit, what do you base anything on? What is the absolute thing that you know is to be true that you can base everything else
Well,
from?
that's the problem. There is no thing such as that.
So, like Descartes was, I think, therefore I am. So he acknowledges that you are there.
In some shape or form that he
You-
might
you're
not know
alive.
about it, not alive, that you exist
Yeah,
in some
yeah.
shape or form. Now the problem is our perception of existence is very finite.
Yeah.
We do not have all kinds of existence that are possible.
But all of those
So
things.
we can never know how we
Right,
actually
would you
exist.
say, I know, I think, therefore I am. You know that you think, therefore I am, right? So you can then go nihilism.
Yes, in some kind of way, I do exist, but my existence might be
Alright, do
as
you-
the product of imagination of a superior being. It is also possible, and in that scenario, my existence is almost nullified because I don't have any will, I don't have any power, I don't have anything. I'm just the product of an imagination. I'm like a character in a book that somebody wrote. I don't actually exist, but I
Okay.
kind of exist.
All
You know
right,
what I
okay,
mean?
I'll tell you where I'm at, right? I think, therefore I am, right?
Now, I'm not saying that I think that. I'm saying it's just a possibility.
Let me speak. All right, that's what I feel, right? So anyone else here?
Yo, Shankman.
Anyone else here? That is like the basis of my philosophy. I think, therefore I am.
Okay.
Right? So I know that something is going on in my head, or my heart, or my foot, wherever thought exists. So I will treat everyone else who's got a head, a heart, or a foot equally,
Okay.
because I assume that they are doing the same.
Fine,
right?
that's your choice.
Right? When you try and extrapolate it beyond that,
Okay.
that is not a route that is not a route that I can quantify in any way, right? I don't think that you can. I don't think you.
I missed the extrapolation. What was the extrapolation?
Well, no, the extrapolation.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't do any extrapolation
No,
beyond
the extrapolation
that. We were
was,
talking
it was
actually
just
something
like, I think,
completely
therefore I
different.
am.
Yo, soy boy,
what's
how's
up?
it going?
Soy
Yeah.
milk,
Come
man.
here. Soy milk,
I wanna
soy
talk-
power,
Soy power.
soy power. We were just talking about transgenderism,
Oh, yeah.
and I was trying to, man, those poor girls, no, seriously, those poor
Really
girls.
messed up. Transgenderism,
Dude,
yeah.
they've been very much indoctrinated, honestly. They don't
Yeah,
actually
burn the bridge and then
think
rebuild it,
for
man.
themselves.
That's how it works.
I mean, one of the girls, the one who apparently spoke German, she did know some knowledge. She did have some knowledge of philosophy, so she did know a few things. She didn't understand some things that I told her. But the problem is, they didn't actually understand my main point. That I'm not opposing openly transgenderism, but I'm saying it shouldn't be encouraged. It shouldn't be, done in a large scale because it's not beneficial for society in any way, shape, or form. And there's only so much stuff that's not beneficial for the society that the society keep practicing because it's a burden. Every single small thing that is not actively improving society, that society implements in itself, is a small burden, and
you
eventually it becomes a big burden.
But you
And the rest of
realize-
society has lots of those burdens. That's a big problem.
Okay, but mentioning these burdens, you realize as well, I mean, I can't speak for them, but you realize when you're talking about society, you're talking about it from your individual perspective.
Well, that's
right?
always the case.
That's
man.
always the
no
case,
matter
but-
how you try to.
But then the next,
distort it,
yeah,
it's
the
always
next
case.
question is, who are you to say what's beneficial and what's beneficial?
Who am I? Good
And
question. Good
and
question.
yeah, so maybe you should answer that first.
Good question. An answer to that is I am someone who can justify my opinions. I'm
Okay.
someone who can give good justification, a good reason and a good meaning to my opinions, and thus my opinions should be respected and implemented in
Should they be
the current world
prioritized over
society.
others? Is that-
Yes, if I can prove my point to others and they cannot prove their point to me, I win, and my idea should be implemented.
Right. Okay.
That is my ideology. If I mean, it's not always like that.
But on what account? On what account? I mean, on just by the fact that your argument is more coherent, you think that's reason enough to for society as a whole to kind of accept your point of view, or people who generally, let's say, win in arguments point of view?
Yeah, that's a good point too. Because some people here in Speaker's Corner, especially some of the Muslim preachers, they're very good. They're very good speakers.
Because some people win arguments, but they
Yeah,
don't really
because
win
they
it.
can win
They
arguments.
they don't really win it with reason.
Exactly,
They win it with
exactly.
they win it with
But
people
yeah, but
being
the
able to
problem
corner
with
people.
them is
and-
they don't win it with truth. They don't win it with reason. They win it with fallacies because they are proficient at them. They are big professionals in leading the other party to places where the other party doesn't want to be.
Socrates talked about these
Yes,
sophists.
yes.
Sophists
Not
in
only
ancient
sophists,
Greece.
not only sophists.
No, but they were
Socrates
one kind
really
of
was
people.
really not very trusty of democracy, because democracy is very fragile to something that they call the demagogues. The demagogues are very charismatic, very good, well-spoken people who can impose their ideals to other people without actually justifying them properly. And thus, the public thinks that they agree. They think that the point is just and reasonable, when in reality it's not. That's the big problem of
Do
demagogues.
you have an example of that, though? Let's have an example.
Okay, an example of that.
We need examples.
A direct example from Socrates is one of the Greek
Oh, Jesus
generals
Christ, that's like 2,000
whose name
years
I don't
ago.
actually remember, honestly.
All right, okay. Can we have
I studied that guy a while
Can we
ago.
have examples
But
in living memory?
wait. Let me just finish this part. So that guy basically, he made Athens do an expedition to Sicily, and the expedition greatly backfired and brought Athens to its knees. I don't remember his name
can
exactly,
agree with
but
that
if
because-
anybody searches it up,
I can
you
agree
can
with that
find it.
because Bush Blair had wars. Some of them were good, like for example, like Kosovo. They had Kosovo. They had East Timor. They had Sierra Leone.
Wait, what do you mean good? What do you mean by good?
No. I'm not. I'm
Because you're just throwing
But
out
look,
this word.
demagogues-
I'm just mentioning
Demagogues
wars,
are not
right?
necessarily
But you said those wars
people
are
who
good,
are
as in-
negative
Okay.
for society.
Sierra Leone. Would you say that was good or
I
bad?
don't know about the Sierra Leone. I don't know.
I would have
Was
said
there a war
that-
there?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
never heard
yeah.
of
I
that.
never heard of it. Yeah.
All right, I would say that was
I
good.
don't think it's a very large scale.
But what do you mean when you
honestly.
say good? That's so subjective. Like you're just,
Of course
just
it is.
throwing the
Of
word
course
out.
it is.
Yeah, I mean,
No. I'm happy to throw that
the
word
good
out.
wars for USA were the wars where they had
No,
something
I'm
to
happy
gain.
to say that was
There
a good
weren't
war.
wars where they improved the lives of the
most
conquered
people in Sierra
people.
Leone thought that was a good war.
That's the
Yeah, I
thing.
mean the word good is a bit. This is the thing about when you're arguing with people as
It
well.
was good for the US, not
when
good
people
for the
use
people
the
they
word, when
conquered.
people use words like good, like for example, good in ancient Greece, it meant. When you say good, it means like powerful.
Do you think?
If you're powerful, you're good.
Right. Do
If
you
you're
think-
weak,
are
you're
you
bad.
gonna- are
Yeah,
you-
there is some truth to that.
The word itself, you have to be careful of how you use
To a
words.
certain
because-
extent, victory means justice in our world. The strong do what they can, and the weak suffer what they must.
Are we?
Well,
are you-
that's another word. Justice. Does justice mean getting
Good.
your way, or just does it mean like fairness and equality? Because
Justice
for a lot of people,
means
they don't
the
see
way
justice
the way
as
that
a
people
way
are
of,
being ruled, the way that people are punished for the choice of certain sins. What you call a sin, that's what justice dictates. What you call a good thing in a person, that's what justice dictates. So justice is that thing. But the thing is, justice is dictated by the others. You can have any justice you want. If other people don't accept it and don't implement it in their own morality, your justice
Or
basically
you can
doesn't
define
exist.
these terms beforehand. Or you can have. Or you can.
What do you mean by
Or you
that?
can keep
Oh, okay.
redefining them.
You're
and
talking about
redefining
good.
them.
You're talking about justice.
Yeah.
Or you can, irrelevant of the final result. Your idea of justice, your idea of good, could be something independent of whatever the result will be, whatever your thoughts are. You can define these terms beforehand, and then you're not fucking arguing about a point, going da 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 da.
What do you mean by that? It's
And
somebody,
then just kick
somebody
it up.
who's
Oh,
born
right,
in a society where they have
we can all
a certain
we can all get a
justice.
football and kick it around and go, oh, this word means something, this word's something else. We can all kick around a football if you want, or you can define a word at the
Yeah, but
start.
this is the problem because you know how hard it is for two people
Then
to
define a
to
word,
define
then.
a word and have the same interpretation.
Then start that from. If you're going to discuss something,
Especially a word
have
like
a word.
good,
All right,
good
okay.
or justice.
If you're going to use a word good or justice, define it from the start. Then
Well,
don't say like right. Because you know what?
But the thing is, you cannot define it.
All right.
But you
I
can't.
don't know a
Okay,
fucking.
have fun, guys. Have fun. I'll let you argue. For
I don't know a Greek person.
Dude,
I don't know a dead
sad,
Greek
I'm very
person.
sad that
So
the
arguing what a
conversation about
Greek person
transgenderism
used
went
as a
downhill
word
because I was just
2,000
about
years
to prove a
ago is
point.
nothing to me.
And
When
I
you
didn't prove
use a
shit
word like
because the
good-
girls left, like the
All right.
conversation derailed.
Actually, I do.
And that's it. That's it. The conversation
pedos.
How
was
to
over.
define? How to define good?
Defining
and
words, yeah.
How
Defining
we
a word.
define words?
Yeah.
How we define words?
I'm going to follow you in Greek language.
No, he's saying that to him it doesn't make sense to talk about how the Greeks
Defined a
defined
word.
words like good and justice because we live in this society. And I'm saying to him it's actually quite important because words like good and justice,
But then define the
they
word.
go through development.
Define what you
So-
mean by the word.
So let me just give you an example. As I was mentioning
Oh,
earlier to Pavlov, the word good in ancient Greece, it meant powerful. If you were powerful, you were good. Like Zeus, for example, or those gods, they were good because they were powerful. If you were weak, you were bad. Now in this society, good means something like polite or kind
Yeah.
or helpful.
No, I
right?
agree with that 100%.
So this is the point I'm trying to make. When you're defining words, you have to be very careful.
Yeah.
Because
So that's my point. It's like when you
can
use the word
misunderstand
good,
people.
it's like we have to be very clear. There's no point arguing about the definition of a word when you mean one thing and I've accepted it to mean something else.
So what are you talking about? What do you mean?
Because
When you say come to the same definition, what do you mean by that?
well, you have to define your terms.
Yeah, but that's the whole point. It's extremely difficult to define terms because, as I mentioned to you, words,
No, I fully accept that.
words, and also not just words, but human beings, they go through changes as we evolve, as societies
I
evolve.
fully accept that.
The human being of
fully
5,000
accept
years
that.
ago is quite different to the human
No,
being
I fully
now.
accept that.
The human being in the Western society is quite different to, I don't know,
No,
the
no,
human
no. I
person in some
fully
other-
accept all these points.
Yeah.
It's just like
So it's extremely difficult to.
it's like if you're going to go down to a path about talking something, you can't just go, oh, but the way you defined it is different. Like you have
to come
yeah,
to agreement.
You have to
on the
at the
term.
start go. When I say good, I mean this.
Yeah.
And we have to go like, yes, let's only talk about that.
Yeah.
If we're going to talk about something else, fine. Peace be with you. Life is beautiful. We're all humans, and all we can do is just spout whatever's nonsense in our head. But if people talk and then they go 5 minutes down the conversation and then go, oh, but what you said, when you said good, I mean it by something else, and then you have to backtrack for 20 minutes. To me, I just think that's a cheat.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's good. It's good.
Like,
At least you agree that we have to define
yeah,
terms
yeah.
before.
Like at the very start, it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
what is the issue? It's like to me,
It's been a pleasure, man.
to me, it's like peace be with you.
Peace be with you too.
Peace be with you, everyone here. Like let's find the answer.
Content over everything. From your humanity.
Man, say it straight. Man, don't listen to BBC. Man, don't listen to ITV.
When God said in the
being.
Quran that there was a time that you were not even a thought. Imagine.
Yeah. Okay.
It's so
do
true.
do you think
Then you
human
come,
beings change?
then you become a human, then you rape, then you cheat. What gives you the right as a human being? As a human being to another human being, I should cheat somebody because I can do it and I can get away with it?
No one's watching, but we know God is watching.
Thank you.
But so what? Okay, God is watching. But so what? So what?
You will know at the end, don't worry.
No. Oh, but I'm not know now. I want to know now.
Yeah, go on, who wants to know